Great. So I'm going to introduce myself while I pull up my PowerPoint. My name is Anton Krieger. I work for the Buckeye Environmental Network. I've been here for 4 years. It's coming on 4 years this October. And I work specifically on oil and gas waste, the byproduct of the oil and gas industry. And you guys are going to learn a whole lot more. So I'm going to go ahead and share screen. And if somebody could just give me a thumbs up when they see it, that would be super. Thumbs up. Anybody? Thank you, Van Lynn. And can you guys hear me okay? Super. All right. So, oil and gas waste brine spreading on roadways. This graphic right here is my favorite. This is an illustration that we had done at Buckeye Environmental Network um, to show the migration of oil and gas waste brine. Okay. Not all brine spread on roadways is oil and gas waste brine, okay? I want to make that very clear up front. There's a specific type of brine that we're going to be talking about that comes from vertical wells that produce oil and gas. And we'll get right into it, okay? And I just wanted to shout out our elders, Chief or Roxanne, if any of our experienced people in here want to hop in, or if I'm forgetting anything, please feel free to hop in. So real quick, this webinar, we have a few goals. This is kind of like our agenda for the evening. First, we're going to learn about oil and gas waste. Where does it come from? What does it contain? And how does it affect the body? Why is it bad that oil and gas waste is going on our roadways? What does Ohio's state agencies have to say about it? We're going to be talking a little bit about Ohio Department of Transportation, Ohio Department of Health, and Ohio Department of Natural Resources. What do they have to say about this? And lastly, what can you do? And just a little teaser, there's actually a bill in the House right now, the Natural Resources Committee, that just got numbered. It's very fresh. And what can you do to make sure that our elected officials are doing something about the radioactive waste that's going on the roads? Okay. So, oil and gas waste brine 101. There's a lot of euphemisms for oil and gas waste. Okay. Oil and gas waste is a salty water with radium 226, radium 228, heavy metals like benzene, toluene, ethylbenzene, xylene, and this comes out of the earth along with natural gas and crude oil. And for every barrel of oil that comes out of the ground, you're also bringing out 7 to 10 barrels of oil field brine. So in some ways, you can say that you're really producing brine and oil is the byproduct, right? Because you're actually getting so much more brine than you are oil. And a lot of people don't know this. Where does all this waste go? People know where this oil ends up, Sometimes it gets refined and it ends up in your car as gasoline, but where does the radioactive waste go? The main method of disposals I've listed here, and there's probably even a few more that I don't know about or that are, there's always something that industries are trying to do something with this waste, sell it as something else. The one that we're talking about tonight is road spreading. It's called a de-icer or a dust suppressant, and it's used on roadways, predominantly in poor townships across Ohio. Some counties use it, some cities use it. It's injected into an injection well, which is where you drill deep into the earth, and you put that waste into the ground to supposedly sequester it. And I kind of do a little bit of air quotes because um, that that waste is migrating in some injection wells. And in Washington County, if you've been keeping up with our campaigns, actually, we're suspecting that it's contaminating oil production wells because uh, we have to put this somewhere, and policymakers have decided it should go into an injection well. Lastly, sometimes it's processed in a waste facility. They send that stuff to a landfill where it's radioactive. It's not good there either. Okay, but we're going to be talking just about road spreading. So I want to start with what the statute says. Okay, I'm not a lawyer, but I've spent a lot of time with the statute, spoken to a lot of policymakers on this, okay? Ohio Revised Code 1509.226 came from a law that was passed in 1985. And this allowed local governments like townships, counties, um, even like county fairground boards, school boards. This law gave local governments the ability to pass a resolution and say, yes, we would like to spread oil and gas waste on our roads as a de-icer and dust suppressant. And after that local government files a resolution, they have to file what's called an annual surface application form every single year on April 15th for the rest of that government's existence until they decide they want to pass a resolution saying, no, we no longer want to spread. Then they're off the hook. They don't have to file that form anymore. But that annual surface application form details how many barrels of brine was spread. Sorry, I said brine. How many barrels of oil and gas waste was spread on the roads, what days of the year it was spread, and on what roads, in what amounts. And the statute is really specific, okay? This is an important detail. I want you to catch this. Only brine that's coming from a well that is vertical can be used, okay? So this is a horizontally fracked well, okay? It's not your conventional vertical well. This is your conventional vertical well right here, okay? So brine can come not from a horizontally fracked well, but it can come from a vertical well, okay? Just keep that in mind. Not a horizontal well, but a vertical well. Why do we care if it's on our roads? Well, oil and gas waste contains radium-226 and 228. It decays into lead, which is also not good for our bodies. It has carcinogenic heavy metals. I've already named these: benzene, toluene, ethylbenzene, xylene. And sometimes it actually contains forever chemicals, which are um, a process of fracturing, using fracking methods to keep the pores open so oil and gas can come out of the formations. And people are exposed to oil and gas waste by inhalation and ingestion, okay? So imagine there is a toddler, mom is flying down this dusty road on a hot summer day. Okay, they get out of the car, mom's trying to put the kid down for a nap. Kid's just kind of not listening. They're drawing a smiley face on mom's minivan, okay? And that dust has some radioactive particles that were kicked up from the road that they were just driving on. And that kid touches their eyes, their nose, their face, their mouth, and they ingest that dust. Okay. That is a contamination of radium-226 and 228. So getting that radium into the soft tissues inside your body is really harmful. A lot of people will say, well, you get radiation from being on an airplane, you get radiation from bananas, blah, 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 blah. That's different. Exposure to radiation is not the same thing as being contaminated by radiation. Okay, ingesting or inhaling um, radioactivity is going to wreak havoc on the soft tissues inside your body versus just receiving energy from radiation. Okay, we're going to keep moving here. The health effects of radium-226 and 228, those are the main chemicals we'll be talking about today. Birth defects and stillbirths, cancer of the bones, liver, breast, anemia, fractured teeth and cavities, and eventually, over long periods of time exposure, this can kill you. And this just shows all the avenues, okay? So maybe maybe these kids are getting dusted by a pickup truck zooming on the road while they're playing. Maybe the kids are playing in the dirt on the side of the road. Maybe it's just leaking to our waterways, or maybe it's ending up contaminating livestock and crops. There's lots of avenues for migration. I wanted to talk a little bit about what the agencies have to say about this. And I'm kind of being a little long-winded. I'm going to pick it up a little bit so we stay on track here. This is an inter-office memo with Ohio Department of Natural Resources, Division of Oil and Gas. To cut to the chase, there was a product being sold as a de-icer. It was called Aqua Salina. Aqua Salina was derived from oil and gas waste. And what ODNR passed around in their offices was they said, we don't want aqua salina on the roads because it actually is too radioactive according to radium 226 and 228. Legally, you cannot discharge it into the environment. Okay. And that is outlined in the Ohio Administrative Code. Um, that number is 60 picocuries per liter, which I want you to remember. Okay. Here's another study from Ohio Department of Natural Resources. Uh, Ohio Department of Natural Resources studied in the ballpark of 150 wells, and some were vertical, some were horizontal. Okay. Remember that picture at the very beginning? You can spread vertical, but you cannot spread horizontal. Um, this shows averages from formations around Ohio. And all of these are well above that 60 picocuries per liter limit, okay? That legal limit to discharge into the environment. So if you can kind of see where this is going, that high level of radioactivity is likely exceeded by many of the brines that are being spread on roadways, okay? Let's look into the data a little bit further here, okay? Radium 226 and radium 228 are outlined. And you can see right here, there's a column for radium 226 picocuries per liter, radium 228 picocuries per liter, and then they actually combine the radioactivity, okay? So every single one of these wells that was studied actually exceeds radium 2, the legal discharge limit for radium 226 or radium 228 in either column, okay? And the reason why I have these two pages side by side, right? This is page 3 out of 4. This is another page. This is that horizontal fracking. You're not allowed to spread this on the roadways, but you're allowed to spread this on the roadways. And the original train of thought was, well, the shallower vertical wells, they're not as radioactive. They're probably safe. It's probably fine. That was back in 1985 when they decided to pass the law. What we've ended up finding out in these last few years between 2017 and 2019 from this study is actually the conventional wells are quite radioactive. So that original thought process, it's out the window. Okay, let's look at the data even further. This is a bar graph from that study. This is an average of the conventional wells in that study. This is an average of the vertical wells in that study, okay? So we're looking at horizontal wells versus vertical wells, okay? This is the lowest emitting vertical well, which is still just barely over the legal limit for discharge into the environment, 60 picocuries per liter, okay? So the original thought process was right. On average, your horizontally fracked well is going to be more radioactive, but both are high above the legal limit for discharge, which is 60 picocuries per liter. I mean, we're not talking just barely over. We're talking about, over 1,000 picocuries per liter higher in radiation. Let's look at it another way. This is the well that had the highest recorded amount of radioactivity in it, and it was a conventionally producing well. It was a vertical well, okay? This is our averages again. We just saw this. And what I'm showing you here with these check boxes is, according to our statute, the check box here, this is what's legal to be putting on our roadways. Okay? We're allowed to spread this 9,000 picocuries per liter, but we're not allowed to spread this vertical frac waste on our roads. And it just throws the whole thought process out the window. Um, horizontally, horizontal brine is extremely dangerous, and in some cases, it's more dangerous than that horizontal brine, than that frac brine. Okay. What do I have here? Here we go. In 2021, Ohio Department of Transportation actually decided to stop using aqua salina, that de-icer that was derived from oil and gas wells. That was a big change. It used to be put on highways, any state controlled road, any state regulated road. The problem that we're running into is Ohio Department of Transportation doesn't look after every single road in Ohio. Local governments look after a lot of their roads, and that's the sticking point that we're getting to, okay? I also threw in here a Ohio Department of Health study. They concluded that due to the increased levels of human exposure to radiation from using products derived from oil and gas waste brine, it's not recommended. So they did a model where they actually studied health outcomes of prolonged exposure to radiation, to radium 226 and 228 from using de-icers derived from oil and gas waste brine, okay? So just in review, we looked at Ohio Department of Natural Resources, which said we don't want aqua salina on the roads because it's too radioactive. We looked at some of Ohio Department of Natural Resources studies where they showed virtually all of the brine coming from vertical wells are too radioactive to put into the environment. We looked at Ohio Department of Transportation. They discontinued the use of the radioactive deicers. And Ohio Department of Health even came out in 2022 and said, this is not good to be using in our residential areas. This is not safe. It's not good for our kids, our families. Okay. So what can you all do? Right? This is the most important question here. Now that you've learned a little bit about radioactive oil and gas waste brine being applied to our roadways, how can you help stop this? Okay, our first and foremost we want to talk about is supporting House Bill 439 in the Ohio Legislature. There has been two representatives that have co-sponsored a bill to actually disallow um, the use of oil and gas waste brine on roadways in Ohio. And this is important. This issue is not a red or blue issue. This issue is common sense. It's actually a lot like asbestos. It was used widely for some time. We found out that it was carcinogenic, very harmful, and now we have to backtrack and we have to take a look at the science and the studies from our state agencies and decide, is this actually good for the people of Ohio? And so this bill is actually going to strike out 1509.226 of the Ohio Revised Code, which was passed all the way back in 1985. I use the words archaic legislation. Some people don't like that because they're like, Anton, you're 25, don't call 1985 archaic. But um, but we're gonna go really quickly over our resources on Buckeye Environmental Network's website. We're gonna go over a phone script where you can call your representative and the chair and vice chair of the Natural Resources Committee and the committee chairs. Write letters to the editor. We have a very brief training about that with a script. And also speak to your local elected officials. If you're concerned that maybe your local government is spreading oil and gas waste, then maybe talk with them. Ask them, where do they source their where do they source their brine from? Is it derived from oil and gas waste? Um, so I'm going to pause right there and I'm going to stop sharing screen and we're going to hop over to Buckeye Environmental Network's website real quick. Okay. So I hope that everybody was able to learn something. Again, we are holding questions to the end, so please hang with me. But this is a really important part that I want to share with you guys. So this is this is Buckeye Environmental Network's website, okay? We have a few tabs under here. What you can do is you can go right now, even on your computer, to Our Work and drop to the bottom to Toolkits and Resources. If you click that, you're going to find two different resources, okay? The first one is going to be our phone script, which I want to go over with everybody just briefly. It's really short. This would only take 5 minutes if you were to do this. And you may end up just leaving a message or talking to an aide. But this is the three people that we're going to be calling. And we're going to add phone numbers in there too. Um, Chair of the House Natural Resources Committee, Representative Monica Robb Blasdale. Vice Chair of the House Natural Resources Committee, Representative Tex Fisher, and your own House representative. And you're going to basically be saying, hey, we heard that House Bill 433 was introduced. This would discontinue the use of toxic and radioactive oil and gas waste ending up on our roads. You can riff a little bit. You can say, It's radioactive. There's radium-226 and 228 in there. And we hope that this is the punchline. We hope that you would give this bill the proper hearings in committee because right now we're at a point where we're worried that this is not going to get the attention of lawmakers in the Natural Resources Committee. We have to tell our lawmakers that we care about this and that it deserves every single hearing possible, so that they can discuss whether or not it belongs on our roads in Ohio. Okay. So again, that's just on Buckeye Environmental Network's website. And you'll just go to our work, toolkits and resources. Okay. And our other option is a letter to the editor script. And I just wanted to open this up, show you this is about 150 words to 200 words. If you have a local paper that you know of, consider maybe personalizing this and sending it over. And at this point, what I'd like to do is I would like to kick over to Van Lin. I will be resharing my PowerPoint so we can just briefly talk about letters to the editor. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and reshare screen. Okay, Van
Right.
Lin, take it away.
Okay, cool. And so, just briefly, what is the letter to the editor? And they're often short opinion pieces submitted by everyday community members, and they give just everyone, everyday people, a chance to have their voices heard. And usually, most letter to LTEs, which are letter to the editors, are under 250 words, so they need to be really focused, and they're great for a quick reactionary comment on something that's happened or an ongoing event. It's a free, accessible way to take action on issues that you care about, and it reaches a wide audience, your neighbors, the media, and policymakers. And see, why do they matter? Why do LTEs matter? It's really good for influencing public opinion and decision makers, and it encourages continued media coverage. So even though there's been an article about something, and maybe even some news coverage, having an LTE responding to like some media coverage that happened keeps the conversation going. And it's widely shareable to amplify your voice online. And so, writing an effective LTE to increase your chances of publication, find a local paper, follow the paper submission guidelines. You can often even log on Google and type in like a paper that you like and search LTE in the paper that you like, and you'll probably find a page or guideline to get that going. Tie in your LTE into something that they've covered and focus on one clear point. And we have a script on our website just for a good guidance. And if you haven't heard back after a week, follow up, maybe resend it or just nudge them. And if it's published, share it with us. Share it widely on your network and your Facebook groups. It's a powerful tool to keep the conversation going and really shows that like you care about this topic. And I think that's it for the LTE. So I think I'll pass it back to Anton for the Q&As.
Thank you, Van Lin. And if your cogs are turning, I know some of the people in Muskingum County, they actually have Representative Adam Holmes, who sits on the Natural Resources Committee. And so he's an excellent one to push. I think that he would be very interested in having more hearings, and he can let the chair know that you're interested in this topic. So I wanted to go ahead and open it up to Q&A while we're still recording here. Um, and so I'm happy to take questions from the chat. And I see Tom McKnight has um, already asked a question. How is there not radiation in our oil and gasoline products? Um, yeah, Tom, probably through refining. There might even be, some trace amounts of radioactivity. I'm not entirely sure. If Chief or if somebody else could answer that, like maybe just a brief answer, or we could just leave it at that too.
One of the things that they're talking about, I don't know if you remember, they wanted to start eliminating gas stoves. One of the reasons for that is because some of the wet gas that they were getting through the Marcellus and Utica shales were transporting those radium particles through there. And it's not entirely clear that the oil and gas that we use does not have the radium in it. No one's actually done in-depth studies because most of it just gets poured into your car. But if you read if you read Justin Noble's book Petroleum 238, you see he talks about people who cleaned some of these pipes, and the residue of that stuff is still in there, and these people got contaminated. So there probably very much is this stuff in there because, you know, going through a fracking tower to make gasoline and that, it's not going to take a lot of that out. So that it probably is in there. It's something you'd have to really look into.
Thanks, Chief. And I saw that Miss Boudart has a hand raised. Do you have a question?
Yeah, I just got a phone call, and so I'm a little bit discombobulated. But I put in the chat a book called Petroleum 238. And this is written by a young man, Justin Noble. He was he appeared with NEIS, which is my organization, Nuclear Energy Information Service, and he wrote a whole book about the radiation that is perpetrated through oil and gas products and has been from the beginning, and how it affects the environment. And there's a lot on how it affects the people who have to clean up the pipes and things that gas and oil is transmitted through. But as Mr. Caggiano said, uh, a gas stove will put radiation into the air on a regular basis because the gas comes from underground and it is radioactive. And if you have a gas stove with uh, I personally have discontinued my gas stove for about 3 years because um, I know it's radioactive. Um, I don't want to take up too much time, but I put all this in the chat.
Thank you. Yeah, Justin, I read Justin's book. I would also recommend it. So if you wanted to circle into that chat and find it, um, Miss Boudart did put a link in there.
It's
Um,
almost the first thing in the chat.
thank you.
Yeah.
Somebody asked a question about how do you feel about opposing frankly directly versus only appearing to oppose the spreading of waste on roads? Um, I have pretty much made up my mind that Ohio will never stop fracking. I don't think you can stop fracking. Um, you can make rule changes though to the way that waste is regulated, and I think that is the best way to talk about this to traverse differences in political identity is talk about the waste issue. Nobody wants radioactivity on our roads. Doesn't matter who you are. Making sure that your community is not radiated is really important. And I focus a lot on road spreading in particular because I think it's such an outdated practice, and I think it's low-hanging fruit that we have to focus on. And I think that's where the conversation starts, and um, that's that. I would say that's my answer to that. Do you know where brine is being used in Ohio? Ohio Department of Natural Resources keeps kind of a rough spreadsheet of users in Ohio. It includes counties, county engineers, townships, um, and Ohio Department of Natural Resources does not keep the squeakiest clean of records. There's entire years in their data where it's just missing for certain townships and counties. And I don't know if that's because Department of Natural Resources failed to record it in that spreadsheet, if they never received an annual application spreading report form from that township or county. Um, but that's kind of a big deal because the statute says that things need to be kosher. It needs to be on file with DNR. or else people can get in trouble. Um, and so I can send that spreadsheet out in an email to any of our participants if they're interested in looking at it. But I would just say if you have any questions about it, um, feel free to reach out to me and we can talk it out. Uh, Ms. Mary Beth Name, I'm not sure on geothermal. That's something we'll have to delve into another day. Any other questions? Roxanne Groff.
Doing the kind of background work that allows for more.
Go ahead, Roxanne.
Yeah. Um, Thanks, Anton. This is Roxanne Groff in Athens County, and I work with Anton, and he has been able, with the support of Buckeye Environmental Network, been able, and this has taken months and months and months and months to get a legislator interested in introducing legislation to change the language in existing law in Ohio to remove the use of toxic radioactive waste off of our public roads and to also not allow it to be used for private use to say spray on gravel stored at like township buildings and other places that for dust resistance. So I want to express the need that this webinar is for educational purpose, but it's also a call to action because once a bill is introduced, nothing influences lawmakers more than hearing from their constituents. The more a legislator hears from his or her constituents, the more likely they are to hold public hearings. And that is the step that we have been looking for the last 3 years. This bill was introduced, a similar bill was introduced by Mary Lightbody. She had to retire from the House of Representatives. So Representative Tristan Rader, as Anton said, from the Cleveland area, has taken up the charge. He has witnessed in full in Washington County the effects of the migration of oil and gas waste. He understands that it's radioactive. He understands it comes from unconventional wells, and he decided that it's time to address this in front of the Ohio legislature. So first, as Anton explained, uh, getting the Natural Resources Committee interested in holding these hearings is paramount. And we'll continue putting out action alerts to tell people when the bill is going to be. You can watch it actually on the Ohio channel. You can watch the sponsor introduce the legislation and then look for action alerts for public hearings. There is nothing more important than testifying in front of the legislature, whether it's in person or simply by submitting testimony, written testimony. And it doesn't matter if you are in the district that any of the representatives serve on the Natural Resources Committee. The more people they hear from, the more they understand the urgency, and they just might take a look at the bill in terms of its seriousness. ODOT, as Anton mentioned, doesn't use this anymore. The Turnpike Commission doesn't use it anymore. Many townships and counties have stopped using it when they actually found out over the last many, many years that we've been advocating for its disuse, that it's just not worth using a product that could cause health problems to their community members. So I really urge people to stay engaged with this through our website and hopefully you will follow up with on the action alerts and Anton's going to put out.
Yeah, Roxanne, and thank you for saying all that. Um, yeah, we can't stress enough how important it is. Like we have as a group, as the Ohio Brine Task Force, as Buckeye Environmental Network, talked to dozens of legislators to have a bill introduced in the first place. And now this is where rubber meets the road, and it's most critical is getting a critical mass of people, whether they're in the districts of the representatives in the Natural Resources Committee or not, Just making sure that Representative Blasdale, Representative Tex Fisher, and your own representative get a call is really important because I'm confident that if we flood their voicemail box, their inbox, we put out letters to the editor, that they will bring this up. And the more airtime we can get it to fan the flame, I think the better chance we have of getting it out of committee and on the House floor. And we'll see where representatives will stand on this. I saw that Ms. Connie Klein had raised her hand.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for doing this. I've followed this issue for, seems like for decades. I was aware of the light body bill, which I can't recall whether that had hearings or not. But my question is, Ohio Sierra Club used to work on this fairly extensively. I was wondering whether, two things, whether you've worked with Cheryl, whose name I can't last name I can't remember, who was working on this for a long time, Terry Lodge, with whom I believe you're familiar with, Anton, he has worked on this too. I think I'm the only one from the Ohio Nuclear Free Network here, but most of the network members are aware of this issue, and I'll certainly stress it at our next meeting. But specifically, I was wondering whether you have worked with or intend to try to work with Sierra Club. This has been a chapter issue in the past, and whether you would consider a petition in addition to phone calls and emails and letters to the editor, because some people would just almost instantly sign a petition, whereas they may or may not, with emphasis on not, send an email, even though you've written good outlines here, or make a phone call. I mean, that's been my experience, and I've been doing this stuff since 1972. So basically, in particular, have you worked with Sierra Club on this issue?
Yeah, I understand
Would
your
you
question. Yeah,
consider a petition?
yeah, I think if you, Ms. Klein, if you have any contacts over at Ohio Sierra Club, I would be more than happy to reach out and partner. It sounds like they can really help bring that critical mass that you're talking about. If you have somebody in mind that you can put in the chat, I would be really gracious.
I'm gonna have to
Grateful.
look up. I know Cherry Lodge knows the girl I'm thinking of. I honestly don't even know if she's still with Sierra Club. Ohio Sierra Club has had a lot of problems in the last couple of years, but I will try to get that information specifically to you.
Thank you. And if you're following the chat, I am putting a phone number and email for Rep. Blasdale and Rep. Tex Fisher right off the bat. So if you guys want to do a quick copy and paste, um, you could even copy and paste that letter to the editor and personalize it, send it in an email. Phone calls truly, I think, are the best way to go. I think talking to that aide and saying, hey, this is really important to me. The aides play a really big part in letting the representatives know what constituents care about. So I think really give them a phone call. Don't just
Hey,
settle for the email.
hey, Anton, Dick Beck with the Sierra Club is on this in the chat. He's on this webinar.
Yep, and I'm trying to remember the name of the person Connie was just talking about too, and I can't come up with it. And right now, I would say we are not doing anything particular with this, but that doesn't mean we won't be, because we are reforming a lot of things in the Ohio chapter of the Sierra Club right now. And it is a chapter again. So we lost our chapter status 4 or 5 years ago when A lot of people in Columbus were arguing with each other, is my impression, but I don't know.
I think it's Cheryl
Thank you.
John's Cock, but I'm not sure if
John
that's,
Cox. That's correct. John
yeah,
Cox.
is that
Oh,
her last name? Yeah. I don't even know if she's still active. I'm peripherally, very peripherally involved with Sierra Club, but they were doing some, she in particular was doing some excellent work on this.
Yeah,
Thank
and
you.
I don't think she's with it anymore.
Thank you, Ms. Klein and Mr. Beck. I'll reach out for a sidebar. Maybe we can have a short conversation. Maybe if it's not, um, the entire, 9 yards, maybe we can talk about even some small asks from Sierra Club, just maybe passing some things around. Every little bit helps, even just one email I can draft for you guys to send out to membership, I think would go a long ways. I see. Uh, Mrs. Weidenbaum's hand raised.
Thanks. Are you advocating a particular way for this waste to be stored or handled? What was the standard that you want met on that front if you're not just trying to stop fracking?
That's a great question. I advocate first and foremost to have it off of our roads. The fracking waste um, is not the waste that's going on the roadways. It's waste from vertical wells, and so fracking is not tied to road spreading as much as it is tied to class 2 injection wells and class 1 injection wells. Um, I would say that road spreading, that waste has to go somewhere else other than the roads. Um,
So you're okay with some types of injection wells, basically.
I wouldn't say that I'm okay with some types of injection wells, and Roxanne has a little bit of experience talking kind of in depth about this. I don't mind, Roxanne, if you want to hop in.
Yeah, I'll just briefly. Right now, injection wells are the only legal way to dispose. So each of these issues, fracking, toxic radioactive waste, injection wells, each one of them has its own separate campaign. It's too much to put them all together, even though, yes, they're all directly related. So what we are working in Buckeye Environmental Network is working daily with Washington County fighting the injection well, the class 2 and class 1 injection wells there. So we have community organizers that do go in and help communities organize against injection wells in the locations where we know they absolutely should not be. And one of those places is definitely Washington County and Athens County and probably Noble County, since that's where 6 injection wells have recently been suspended. So, we're taking this topic separately because it's a law all by itself that needs to be changed. And then we deal with the injection well issues on a permit by permit basis, not opposing all injection wells, because right now that's the only place to put it. And that's the only legal place to put it across the country right now. Sadly, some states like Oklahoma are trying to clean it and reuse it for crop irrigation. That's a whole nother story. I know.
So it's just a question of where the wells are. I mean, I think if I write a letter to the editor of a paper, my friends and peers are going to ask, so what do you want? What is okay? What is the
Yeah,
standard we should
right.
be meeting? So I need to be able to answer that.
Well, like I said, the only legal place to put it is injection wells. And I mean, it's better to put it in an injection well than to put it on our roads. And like I said, the whole injection well issue is being worked on also by many different constituents throughout the state to better control the permitting process as well as stop the ones that are causing harm to communities. It's the same as, stopping fracking similar to stopping fracking under our public lands. I mean, each one of these issues is a dedicated issue. Um,
It's related.
Yeah.
even though they're related. Yes, they're all related, of course.
Yeah.
But with hypothetically a good Supreme Court, could any one of these stop all of fracking? Like,
Nope.
is there one that would be the best way to just halt their operations?
Nope.
If we had an EPA we could stand by, or who would stand by us?
Yeah, I think, it's a lot of what ifs, and I think everybody's activism, like we're friends with Save Ohio Parks. Um we work with all different kinds of people with all kinds of different takes on fracking. And Buckeye Environmental Network, we are really good at working on the waste issue, the road spreading, and the movement on the ground of fighting injection wells. And so that is kind of like the one piece of the pie that we are really good at educating communities on and pushing our elected officials to do better. And that's the fight that we have taken on and that we think we can make the most change on. If we start to add in other things, I think we start to dilute our ability to make change. And so I
So is it
think
sort of like opposing AK-47s instead of all guns, kind of like that?
I don't know. I think it's apples and oranges. I think it's two different. Um,
Like taking a specific gun type, you're taking a specific pollution type that's just completely atrocious and hoping that you can get agreement on that, basically.
no, I don't. I don't want to answer that. I don't think that's at all what I'm trying to say.
I think
Okay.
We have a little bit more time. I would love to take some more questions. Chief, did you want to hop in there? Or
I think it's what we're doing is we're getting at what we can get at quickly. And it's very similar to my argument that I always made against fracking, um, about making the SDS information available to first responders. And I think if the industry is made to clean up their act, just like if the industry was made to give us full SDS disclosure of their chemicals, they would cease to exist because they would too much information would be getting out. By doing this with the road brine, we're exposing their soft underbelly. That yes, indeed, even with conventional well drilling, they're spreading poison into our environment. So now think about the other stuff. And you hit upon it very perfectly when you said that for every 1 barrel of energy, they have 7 barrels of uh, chemical, contaminated chemical. So by doing this, you're not picking and choosing whether you dislike any type of fracking. You're exposing the soft underbelly that they do indeed spread contaminant, very dangerous contaminant, and that we all should be taking a look at this. And that Ohio seems to be the epicenter for not only Ohio's contaminants, but Pennsylvania's, New York's, West Virginia's. So it's not picking and choosing your battles. It's exposing, you're picking and choosing what you're going after. It's exposing the real soft underbelly, the real problem. Because if the industry is forced to do this and get rid of their waste, like everyone else is supposed to, gasoline would be $100 a gallon, and we wouldn't be debating whether or not green energy was necessary. We'd be doing it because gasoline would be too cheap.
thanks, Chief. And I just want to leave everybody with the current legislation that has been proposed. I just popped it in the chat. That's the link to House Bill 439. And again, this is Representative Tristan Rader and Sean Brennan's introduction of the bill. This would strike out 1509.226. And this website right here shows where we are right now in the process. It has just been introduced. Um, and so we're hoping that with your phone calls, we can kind of move it up the way to be sent to the House.
Anton,
Yeah.
Annette McCoy asked if we knew the current legislation. Maybe you could put the existing law, then anybody who actually wants to read the existing law, because I know the bill is a strikeout bill, but you might want to see
Oh,
existing
sure.
strikeouts.
Yeah, absolutely. Ms. McCoy, thank you for joining us. Um, the code that covers it, and I'm putting it in the chat here now, is Ohio Revised Code 1509.226. And this section completely covers um, the application of oil and gas waste by local governments. This is what we're trying to get rid of. And as Roxanne had mentioned, and thank you, Roxanne, private spreaders would also, you wouldn't be able to spread on your church parking lot or your gravel road. Um, some those are a couple examples. And I'm happy to take any follow-ups to the introduced bill or the revised code section.
Anton, this is Annette speaking,
Hi,
and
Ms.
thanks for having me. There are two other pieces that I will send to you that will be coming to committee. And one of the proposals is from Representative Gerald's out of Cleveland. And the other one we've been working with Representative Derek Hall out of Summit County. And I will actually forward to you the language of that bill, and you can share it with the group. We are completing the information through a couple of our legal counsels, but as soon as it's completed in the next couple of weeks, I will send that over to you because we will need support for those.
Thank you, Ms. McCoy. Yeah, feel free to send it over. I will certainly read through it, and we should definitely have some more conversations of how we can support each other. I saw we're gonna wrap things up really soon here, but I saw Ms. Boudart, your hand first, and then Ms. Klein. So let's fly through these so we can get people out at 8 p.m., okay?
Right. I'm just interested in who created your graphics. I'd like to, they're absolutely great. And I sent them, I sent them out earlier today when I saw the graphic to my organization, NEIS. But if you could just let me know who did that, I'd be appreciative.
Oh yeah, I can send you the artist's contact information. Um, their
Why don't you
name,
just, can you stick it? Oh, go ahead and give their name.
yeah, their name is Judah Nemeth. But I'm happy to send you contact info in a separate email.
Okay. I put my emails in the chat, but I could also, anyway, it'll be there. I'm sorry for this distraction.
Not a problem. Thank you. I'm sure that they'll love to receive those compliments. I'll let them know. And Ms. Klein, go ahead. Ms.
You're
Klein,
on mute, Connie.
you're on mute.
Yes. One point that we made with Mary Lightbody's bill, and I think should be made now, uh, is that the state of Ohio itself considers this a serious enough issue that they've stopped using it on state-controlled roadways. So if it's serious enough for the state of Ohio to consider, these localities should go beyond considering it. They should do what the state of Ohio, the Department of Transportation, etc., has already done.
I certainly agree, and that's why we have that ODOT article from Columbus Dispatch, and we hand that out to every single elected official that we talk about. We say ODOT already discontinued the use of oil and gas waste de-icers, and we need to go for the grand slam now.
Now, do you know what happened to Aqua Salina? Did they go out of business? They
No,
were up here in Cleveland.
they
Pardon
didn't
me?
go out. They did not go out of business. They actually still sell to Pennsylvania's Department of Transportation. Um, I know that it's not used by Ohio and it's not used by West Virginia and it's not used by New York. Um, but they are still selling to other states and local governments.
You used to
Um,
be able to buy it at Kohl's. And so well, during this session, I looked it up at Kohl's and it isn't available online from
yeah.
Kohl's.
You
So,
could buy it locally in the
well,
Cleveland area from a
They
lot.
can buy it by the
yeah.
gallon.
Let's go ahead. We'll put a pin in that. I just wanted to give some closing remarks since it's 8 o'clock. I really appreciate everybody who's hung with me to the end of this webinar. Um, please call your state representative. Please call the chair, Representative Blasdale. Please call the co-chair, vice chair, Tex Fisher, Representative Fisher. These people really need to know that this issue is important to us. And I think genuinely, if every person had flooded their inbox, and their voicemail box, we can get this bill to have some airtime, and fan the flames. So we really need everybody. And please reach out with any questions. I hope that you guys have a great rest of your evening. Thank you.
I have a parting shot. Plain water does a better job.
I love that.